Hello, hello, hello! Greetings, salutations, konnichiwa, and every other form of green across this vast, marvelous multiverse. I am Matsu Quinox. This is Horace, and welcome back, my dear, marvelous, wonderful scholars, to the study. Hello there, hello there, hello there, hello there, Dr. Zadium. Welcome. Lurking busy with some work stuff. Have a good stream. Oh, that's fine, that's fine. Feel free to lurk, lurk, lurk in the background as long as you enjoy a good listen. Hello there, Private Maverick. Welcome. Hello there, Julian20. Welcome and congratulations on getting first. Oh my goodness. I hope everyone's doing well. Oh, oh my goodness. I, I have tired myself out yet again. So, how is all my dear, marvelous, wonderful scholars tonight, this morning, this afternoon, wherever you are? Mm, 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 mm. Julian 20, almost spectacular. Almost? Why almost? Why not go full spectacular? I can't talk. Hello. I already said hello to you, Private Maverick. Good, good. Glad to hear it. Julian 20, pretty darn close. Well, pretty darn close is that is close, just pretty darn, I guess. But that's still good, I guess. That's good, right, Horace? Yeah, Horace agrees. It's good. It's good. Oh my goodness. Ah, yes, yes. If you hear any noise in the background, we're doing a little bit of work in the study. Um, Ovid insisted he wants to do some improvements. Ovid, how's that going? You almost have it done? Another hour or so. Okay, okay. Well, I trust you. So if you hear any weird noises in the back, yeah, that's Ovid and Virgil working. It's a little bit. It's been an odd day. It's been a very oddly tiring day too. I've been feeling very drained. But that can't keep me away from my dear, marvelous, wonderful scholars. I have to be here, if only for your sake, dragging myself every Tuesday, Thursday, maybe Saturday, Sunday, and being here for all of you. Ugh. Union 20, change of weather here. Well, I hope it's a change of weather for the better rather than for the worst. I mean, that's what we all hope, isn't it, when it comes to that sort of thing? But I digress, of course. So tonight, tonight can't be just any night. Tonight, Julian 20, snow and 7 degrees one day, 50 the next. Wow, that is a change. I mean, that's like going from the snow room here to the burning plains room, which is essentially a giant desert. It's not a lot of fun. Although it's got some neat books in it. Mm. There's a book of horticulture I once found in that room. It's very odd. But yeah, that would be a very jarring thing to experience, wouldn't it? 1 second, my dear scholars. Mm. The dust in this. Sometimes when they're working on this stuff, it makes my nose a little bit twingy. But yes, like I digress. Tonight we're reading more of the Midnight Folk, and I think we might actually be able to finish tonight. Maybe. We'll see. We don't have a lot of pages left. Felt like this one ran quite a bit longer than others. Yulian 20. Oh. What do you mean, oh? I mean, is that a good O? Bad O? I really can't tell. Oh. I mean, O could be anything in the world. It's a versatile phrase. Yulian 20. Good. Well, I hope it's good. I hope it's a good meaning. Because that's all. That's what I need. I need goodness. I need happiness. I need positivity. We all should be a little bit positive. But I hope these stories I deliver do bring a little bit of positivity in life, because I do it all for you, my dear scholars. Union 20 hugs. Um, Hugs and I don't know. It's just sometimes hugs feel a little weird, you know. I mean, technically I don't have a body. Well, I do have a body, but it's technically not physical. Well, it is physical, but not physical. I mean, my appearance is purely theoretical. It's just the way your brains are basically translating it. So I might not be. How do I explain this? Horace, help me here. You explain to my dear scholars, okay? Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I hope Horace's little speech there and explanation helps you understand my my true nature. Union 20. Now I understand. Good, good. Of course, Horace is quite good at explaining these things. But as I said, tonight we're reading more of the Midnight Folk, and we're quite close to the ending. Um, it's been quite a trip. Quite a trip. I think it feels like it's been for several months now. Uh, my dear scholars, a little bit of a catching up point for it. Midnight Folk is the story of what was it Kay Harker, who lives in Seeking's house and is looking for the treasure that was supposedly stolen by his great grandfather, but really wasn't. Also on the lookout for this treasure are a group of witches who, surprise, surprise, include one of whose members include his governess, Sylvia Daisy. At the same time, this group is led by the mysterious Abner Brown, whose family has a strange connection with the treasure. Throughout this story, we've encountered talking animals, ghosts, and strange magical beings. It's been quite a trip. Last we left, Kay actually found a very different treasure than the one he was looking for. And now he has re-met up with a few of his animal friends, and they're continuing their search to find the hidden treasure. So, my dear scholars, shall we journey on to the world of the Midnight Folk? What say you, my dear scholars? Julian 20 says yes, so I guess we should. Give me a quick drink of water. Pyromeric, let's continue. So then, my dearest wonderful scholars, sit back, relax, have a hot or cold beverage, whichever you like, and let us continue our read of The Midnight Folk by John Masefield. And as mentioned last time, there are no chapter breaks in this book, so we are going to be laying off right where we left off last time. Yes, Kay thought. Abner has sent for her because he has found some clue, and the fish scales on the pajamas show that last night wasn't a dream, but real, and the treasure is down in the cave by the mill, and poor little Nibs and old Bitem are down in the cave and can't get out, unless they try swimming and get drowned. And if Abner has got a clue by incantation and goes to the cave for the treasure, he'll find them both there and shoot them. What am I to do? Ah, that's what, said a voice behind him. Rat, the cellarman, was standing there, smearing his mouth with his paw. He looked much more seedy than formerly, having newly come from the dustbin. Well, he said sourly, what are you looking at me for? I ain't done nothing. I never did. Not never. It wasn't never that done it. You thinks of course I can't wear no pyjamas all over fish scales as I lodders and scullies, but I don't. Only dustbins, except sometimes I rubbish heaps. And what's dustbins? Glass bottles, mostly what's empty. What's dustbins? Old tins, what's been under the tap. And what's life, that's what. I've saved a bit of bacon rind for you, Kay said. It's here, in my soap dish. Rat took the bacon rind without joy and without thanks. He ate it in a greasy sideways sort of way, with a good deal of bolting. However, when it was down, he was a different bean.
"Oh, isn't it a bit of run?"
he said.
As ever I stomached. He put me in mind of a bit of run as maybe you, what lives on such may have forgotten. But what a poor set of mine, what don't get. No, not the smell of run, not twisting a year. Does dwell on down in the dark, many a long day. He wasn't thrown out on no dustbins, but took to the hens, and the sun cooked 'em beautiful. He was a run, he was. But what I says, the seller's a seller, ain't it? And a friend's a friend, ain't he?
Yes, Kay said. Certainly.
Oh, you admit it now,
Rat said.
and nicely you show it. You ain't stood neither paw nor tooth for your friends, though you've been back hours. Here's back coming digging on me, saying, "You go and see if he's going to help them. Of course they're down there and can't get out unless they gets drowned and trying." So I says, "But if he knows they're here, he'll help them." "No," Bat says, "he mind he may be took by such, and I can't go." Bat says, "Of course I can't see in this here flaming daylight, that is my distraction. But Nivens and Bottom, he said, he's down there. But Nivens and Bottom, he says, he's down there in agonies, and we'll help him if Kay don't. That's what."
But how can I help them? Kay said. Rat didn't answer this, but walked to the door and beckoned to him to follow. Just outside the door, he shoved back the trend of its stair and motioned to him to enter the opening. Kay found it fairly light inside. In the darker corners some bats hung, fast asleep.
"Them sandwich bacon rod is flown away on,"
Rat said.
"They think scorn of Ron, that's just their joy, and they're partial to a midge. But here's what."
He had opened a panel in the wainscoting of a little room, which Kay recognized at once. It was Mrs. Pouncer's cupboard. There were the magical books, the gums, and the unguents. The cloaks, masks, and hats had been removed. They will be doing magic in them, Kay thought.
"That's what."
Rat whispered. Of course it is, Kay said. He saw at once what to do. He took he took down from the shelf a pair of one-league boots, one-league shoes, the magic lantern, a ladder, a rope, and an extra pair of spectacles.
"And him,"
Rat said, pointing to one of the baskets. You mean to carry the things in? Kay said. Kay asked.
"No, I don't mean,"
Rat said. What then?
"Of course," Rat said, "I seen her one time say to one of 'em, 'Goose,' and in come a gold goose with sassingers. Then she said, 'Rabbit paw,' and in come a rabbit paw. And if you was to say, 'Raw goose and raw rabbit,' when down there with your two friends, it might be the saving of their poor lives."
I'll certainly do that, Kay said.
"Ah!"
Rat said.
"Yet I noticed you never stopped to think what you might say, so as to rejoice a poor shell of mine what toils and dustbins for a living he don't get."
What can I say for you? Kay asked.
"There was a thing come here once in the summer,"
Rat said.
"He come down up so as he wouldn't burst, but he did burst, and it was to have come quick, but it didn't come quick, and so the sun got at him, and it was very baggy, and people called him a naggy, and he made folk go very wild at dinner time, so you flung him away. But I didn't fling him away, no, I put him away, and wished he was more. Now you just come into this little passage and hold that basket. Then if you will say, 'Naggy,' perhaps she'll come for you."
I know what you mean, Kay said. The haggis. He went into the passage, held the basket, and said, Haggis. Instantly there came a puddingly flump in the basket. A cold, bulging, blobby thing had fallen into it. "Here you are, Rat," he said. "Take it with you."
Oh, that's swell,
Rat said, taking it.
now you put on your shoes in here. You can get out in that jackdaw's place at the end.
As Kay sat down to put on the shoes, he heard Rat passing along the passage to the cellars, singing a song. Oh, here comes another song, my dear scholars. Let me get another drink of water. Oh, oh my goodness. Always have to hydrate during these songs. Let me see if I can make a tune for this one.
Oh, of all the roads that's good to start, there's nothing like Pretty. He warms the cockles of my heart, though he is so cold and baggy. What through the wires, you mutton pies, or pastries made of stocky, do all the whiles I'll make applause. Give me my pretty Naggy, who'll let my jaw lay down and gnaw until my teeth are jaggy, both cooked and raw the Scots. Wahala! Mine bros on Sinaggy.
Kay was not sure of the last lines, because when Rat was singing them, he was whisking through the Jackdaw's place under the eaves, holding his laden basket. He had slipped on the one-league shoes, which were like scarlet galoshes of soft leather. Julian 20, wonderful. Thank you. It's very hard to sing in Rat's voice, honestly. Then he had stamped one foot down to make the shoe fit into it, and lo, away he had whisked, through the hole, over the garden, over the hill, over the wood, across Mile Meadow, which is said to be the best grass for milk in the 7 counties, then along Yell Brook, across Fox Pits, then down, quite out of breath, at the 3rd milestone. He had just time to say, "That makes 1 league," when he was off again. This time it was fun, because it was up among a company of rooks, who were changing their pasture. He had always longed to be among rooks. "Hurrah!" they said. "Hoska!" meaning, "Hooray! Here's Kay." But in an instant Kay was past them, and coming down by 7 Springs to Condicut Old Mill, to the ruined lime kiln where the entrance was. Luckily, no one was about. He slipped off the red galoshes lest they should take him further. Then he put on his fox-eye spectacles. Then he tied the basket round his neck. Then he took out the lantern and examined the entrance. It seemed to him that no one had been there since he had left with Bat. He crept into the old cellar, or stable, from which Nivens and Bitem had fallen. He peered down through the gap in the floor, and called, "Nibs! Nibs! Nibs!"
Is that you, Kay?
"Yes, are you all right?"
Well, we're feeling rather lost, as we couldn't face the look of the river when Otter showed it to us, and didn't quite know that you'd be able to help. But don't speak quite so loud, if you don't mind. We'll explain why presently.
"I'll come down," Kay said. He was pulling out the rope ladder to a proper length when he began to puzzle how to secure the end. "I wish," he said, "I wish I had somebody here to tie the ends to the rocks so that they wouldn't slip." Instantly, an invisible someone took the ladder from his hands, secured it to the rocks near him, went down it, secured the lower ends below, came back up it, said,
"Ladder ends tied to Curly,"
in a tinny, clicky voice like a biscuit tin lid being put onto the tin, and disappeared. That was one of the results of having a wish basket. There's a good question. If you had a wish basket, my dear scholars, what would you wish for? I think I would wish for books. More books. A lot more books. And yes, I'm aware that the study has an infinite number of books. In fact, every book that has ever existed or will exist across the entire omniverse. But, we could all do with more books. So yes, my dear scholars, what would you do with a wish basket? Excuse me. Let me see. Kinshon, what a time to intro a book sale. Oh, hello there, Kinshon. Welcome. Unit 20, for my kid's debt to be gone. Oh, that's quite a nice thing to ask for. Oh, that's sweet. Hello there, Kinshon. Welcome. We are reading The Midnight Folk. Kay is going to rescue Bitem and Nibbins, and he has a wish basket. And I am asking my dear scholars, what would you do if you had a wish basket? A basket that if you asked for anything, it would come true. Because I think that's an excellent question to ask. Let me get another drink of water. Oh, such dry weather. Kay went down the ladder. Bitem and Nibbins were overjoyed to see him. Neither Bitem nor Nibbins was hungry, as Otter had given them a trout. He heard a noise as though a pickaxe was being plied against the wall of the cave from somewhere on the other side. He heard the click of the pick and the falling of stones after each blow. Kintron, I can't really think of anything for myself, well, other than means to improve things. That's fair enough. That's a fair enough thing to think.
That is why I said don't speak so quite so loud,
Nibbins said.
They've been at it ever since daylight. They're digging into the wall from some other cave. If you come over here, you will hear them.
Kay went quietly to the wall of the cave. Then the noise was so clear that it was possible to hear the voices of the workers when they stopped working. Whoever they were not Edward and the guards. Kay could make out that there were always two pickaxes working at the same time for 5 minutes at a spell. Then there came a pause, during which the broken stone was shoveled away. Then the picking began again.
There's a lot of people there,
Nibbins said,
and they're making as little noise as possible. You'll notice that they don't sing, and they're getting within the last yard. Those picks will soon be through.
I can't remember Otter's voice, so I'll try and do it as best I can.
They will, Otter said. They'll be through in no time, and that will mean another way into my place where I've been so snug. It may seem very selfish of me, but do you think, Kay, that you could block up the hole you made into my den so that it won't be noticed?
I'll try, Kay said. You go back into your den and I will wish. He had no sooner wished than invisible someones came silently, blocking up the approach to Otter's lair, tinnily reporting,
Entrance blocked securely,
and disappeared.
That's your third wish, Nibbins said. You'll get nothing more out of that basket this time until you've gone a league and crossed running water. That's how those things work.
That's a really specific rule. I mean, it's an interesting rule, but really specific one. I mean, crossing running water. That's a very weirdly specific ones.
Nibs, Kay whispered, do you think that the diggers there are the Pouncer 7? They may be.
If they are, why don't they use the wish basket?
You can only use a wish basket for good things.
Oh, there's another rule for it. So you can only use 3 wishes at a time unless you go a league and cross some running water. And you can only use the wish basket for good things, Nibbins said.
So you may be sure that they don't use it much.
Where's Bitem gone? Kay asked, looking round.
He never says when he's going. He goes,
Nibbins said. The picks at this moment struck some rotten piece of rock. One of the workers cried,
Look out! She's coming!
On the instant, there came a crashing fall as though all the roof had given way. There was a half-minute's pause, then the voice of Abner Brown sounded very distinctly through the rocks as he tapped with a hammer. "That was a good clearance," he said. "Hark at the taps! 2 or 3 more like the last will fetch us through. You can hear how hollow it is on the other side." The man called Dear Brother Venom began to sing. Oh my goodness, more singing. And more water so I can hydrate myself for singing. How is it I keep picking books that happen to have a lot of singing in them?
When the thin moon peers and the skies are black, I call from the twisted chimney stack. Bring me scarlet toadstool and livid toad, and a corpse way grass from dead man's road. Under the dark star twice, wet with the red dew thrice. Now no singing, Abner said. When we get into the main cave and find the treasure, we will sing. The voices and the pickaxes seemed so near that it was like having them in the next room. "They'll get the treasure now," Kay thought. "If it's here." Give me 1 second. Something fell. Okay, sorry. So a book fell. "They'll get the treasure now," Kay thought. "If it's here. But is it here?" He held up the lantern over the casks and cases stowed at the lower end of the cave. He counted 29 small wooden tubs, 13 small puncheons of green glass, and 11 flat wooden boxes, some of which had rotted through, showing mildewed silk, rotten lace, and fungus where tobacco had been. This is not the treasure," he said. "These are things left by the moonlighters." And for those who came in late, moonlighters are another term for smugglers. Excuse me. "Well, come along," Nibbins whispered. "Quick, before they break through upon us. Don't let us be caught by the 7.
"Wait a minute," Kay said. "I must just look round."
"Oh, don't! Come along."
"No, I want to see."
"Well, I'm going,"
Nibbins said. Kay let him go, while he looked round the cave. There were no other treasures than the spirits.
"It isn't here,"
he said.
"It will be a fine squish for the 7 when they break through."
He noticed that at some time, long before, there had been a heavy fall of rock at the landward side of the cave. Thinking that the fall might have buried the treasure, he walked to that side to look at it. Something was there, lying on the ground. It was not treasure, but the skeleton of a man, lying on his side in the rags of his clothes. He clutched a rusty knife in one hand and the tin door of his broken lantern, which lay at a little distance from him, in the other. He had been scratching something on the tin at the time of his death. Kay picked up the piece of tin to read the writing, but at that instant, oh horror, there came another crash of walk, followed by a cheer of, "Hurrah, the pick's gone through!" Kay did not wait another second. He pocketed the inscribed tin and hopped up the ladder after Nibbins. When they were at the point of coming out into the open air, Nibbins suddenly stopped him.
"She is here! She is here!"
he whispered, "just outside." Almost on the instant, the voices of the pickaxe men, Abner and Venom, were heard outside calling, "Mrs. Pouncer! Mrs. Pouncer, come on down! We've put a pickhead right through the rock into a cave as big as a wine vault. We'll all be through into it in an hour or two, like into Tom Tiddler's ground, picking up gold and silver." What the heck is Tom Tiddler? That is a good question. I should check into that. Oh my goodness, more water.
How wonderful, Mrs. Pouncer said. But what are those things you are carrying?
Yes, what are they? Abner said. We found them in the outer cave. People have been digging there only this morning. Perhaps you can tell us whose they are. Mrs. Pouncer seemed to be examining the things.
A handkerchief marked Edward, she said. A collar marked Brown Bear, an old hat marked Robin Pointnose, a knight's cloak buckle with the device of the plough stars, and a coloured waistcoat marked Bruno Brie. No, only they cannot say whose they are, but they must be the things of enemies, for do you know, just as you began to bring them here, I began to feel that pricking in my toes, which tells me that enemies are near, about to thwart us.
Oh, hello there, One True L. Welcome. Glad to see you. We are reading the Midnight Folk. We are very, very close to the end. Like, immensely close to the end of the book. This might be a short stream, but I might have some additional stories to read tonight.
Let us get back to the digging, then,
Brother Venom said. Yes. And I want you to see the place, Sister Pouncer. One True L, don't get too scared. I'll try not to get too scared. Thank you for warning me. Abner said, perhaps there you will have an intuition of who it is that may be trying to thwart us. But, he added, as they all moved away to their entrance some distance upstream, the men who try to thwart us now will get my grandpup's remedy, a lead pill in the plexus. Ooh, that is not a nice way. That's not a nice gift, not at all. As soon as they had gone, Kay slipped on the scarlet shoes, took up Nibbins, stepped out with his foot, and in another minute was in his bedroom. Nibbins ran away at once to purr to Ellen for the milk and sardine which she always gave to cats, which had been missing. Kay looked at the piece of tin which he had taken from the dead man's hand. The oblong door of the lantern had been scratched with a knife point thus, on the inner silvered side. And this next part, it's actually an illustration in the book. It's really hard to read, but I will read it as best I can. So this is what the piece of tin that Kay found says. Abner Brown followed me, or think on this as the treasure. He shot me because I wouldn't and this is scratched out, the word shar is scratched out, share. I am dying. The treasure is in the little south cave. Give it back to the priests. My dear love to something. It's really hard to read this. It actually is really hard to read this part. It's scratched. It very much is scratches. My dear love something 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 tinny trigger.
There it is, Kay said. Abner followed him into the cave and shot him. This is poor Piney Trigger himself that is lying there.
That's what?
Rat suddenly answered at his elbow.
How do you know?
Kay asked.
Of course I know the party, and seen the deed.
Rat answered.
You think of course I got yellow teeth and a tail, as I won't know that what's what, but I won't that witch, howsoever. How's a mean silly man in them days? I cut up the river on the bars, what have strong smells in it, but not good to eat. Only a sniff wouldn't fight. The air was floods and bindings, and the water coming to the barn, so I says, I'd better get out of this. So I climbed ashore along the rope.
Rat is really hard to do.
Oh, and I need to hold on to doing it. There was a strong smell when I come ashore, so I followed it. I got down into a cave by the smell, was just settling in, when in comes a stout but pale party with a lantern. He goes all about looking at the casks and things and making notes and muttering, "So you're a Silliman too," I says. Suddenly in comes a white-haired party with another lantern. "Now then, Trigger," he says, "I've tracked you down," he says. "How you gonna share? I want half." "You can watch," the other says. "You'll get nothing out of me except another tooth out." Then bang goes the white-haired man's pistol, and the other party follows. I was so scared of the bang, it did so clang that I run out into the night. Bomba, the white-haired man comes out all shaky and twittery, saying, "I've killed him dead, and after all it isn't there, the treasure isn't there, and now I'm doomed, man. Oh, what shall I do? Oh, why did I shoot? I didn't mean nothing except just to scare him."
I seriously doubt that was his intention, was just to scare him.
And at that he gets too close to the bank, which is all rotten with the rain, and the bank had a bush on it, and the bank bush, and he went swoosh into the river, which was all one foaming roar. It spun him right into the water, and he go on screaming just like a pig, but not for long in a roar like that.
Oh, that is a nasty way to go. I mean, that is not a good way to go, being drowned like that. Well, I suppose being drowned in any case would not be a good way to go, but that is especially a nasty way to go.
I went back to the cave, and the pale man had broken his lance, so I ate his candle and come away.
At the time, candle wax actually was made of fat, so that's why Rat is able to eat it. Yeah, candles used to be technically edible. You could technically eat a candle because all it was just fat. It was later substituted with other wax substances, kinchon, good old tallow dips. Yes, yes. So later on, they substitute with other substances. So after that, yeah, you don't eat candles. But earlier ones were the tallow ones were edible, which is why Rat talked about being able to eat it.
So I ate his candle and come away. I don't like being Salamine where things are bane, without banes, but if you ask what about what you know, I'll say that's that what.
Julian 20, especially lit. Just what? Tasty, especially lit? Oh no, no, don't eat lit candles, my dear scholars. Do not eat lit candles. Yes, Kay said. That was what? I see it all. And by this time, I expect the seven will have found the little south cave and taken all the treasure. Oh, I wish that Edward and the others could have found it. I wonder who would stop the seven from having it, because it isn't theirs. Who could stop them? The day passed as he puzzled over the question. Who could stop them? The governess was not there for dinner, nor for tea. But just as Kay was going to bed, two carriages drove up with herself and seven others. They were all very dirty, hot, and cross. They haven't found it after all, Kay thought. They all came into the house. Jane was ordered to build up the fire as everybody was to have a hot bath. After the baths, they were to have a high tea for 8, with 16 poached eggs, and Ellen was to go to Farmer Cheese's and bring 2 pounds of fresh butter and a quart of cream, because they had had such an exhausting day exploring the ancient history. And mind the tea is strong, Abner said. For we shall all be up. Yeah. For we shall all be up all night as this.
Yes, please see that the tea is very strong, Jane,
The governess said.
And Ellen, you might call at Mr. Clove's for a pound of his special tea, and Mr. Brown would like some of the invalid's brandy that is in the cellar to mix with his tea.
Brandy and tea, wow. Think about that mixture. No. Give me
So please bring up a bottle, or rather 2 bottles, for the others might like a little too. And as we are rather short of cakes.
Oh, give me 1 second, scholars. I have to check out something. I think Owen's done with his work. And never mind. It looks like there's still some work to be done. Anyway, where are we? I had the book upside down. Oh, and they were talking about the food. Oh, hello there, Aseo. Welcome, and thank you for the hydrate. Yeah. Let's see. Let's continue then.
And as we are rather short of cakes, please go to the baker's and ask for any fresh crumpets, for there is nothing more delicious than hot crumpets thickly buttered and spread with sugar.
That sounds so good right now. I'm so hungry. As they were now beginning to come upstairs, Kay hopped into bed, where he very soon fell fast asleep. He had slept for some little time when he felt himself rudely shaken by the arm. He woke up to find the room full of light as before. Nibbins was on his bed, shaking him. "Wake up, Kay," he said. "Wake up! We haven't got a moment to lose. I've only just been able to dodge her and get here."
What is it?
Kay said. "No more witchcraft from me," Nibbins said. "After what I've gone through this evening, they caught me fast asleep in my chair after they'd had tea, and they took me up to their black room, as they call it. I knew when I saw the black room and all the 7 as well as Abner that they were going to do something awful, and I can tell you what. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. And I can tell you they did."
But what did they do?
Kay said. "Do?" Nibbins said. "What didn't they do? First, they tried all the simple witchcraft. A fellow wouldn't object to that. There's nothing in that. It's rather fun. But when that didn't do any good, they said that they'd have to use stronger measures."
But I still don't understand,
Kay said, trying hard to wake up.
What were they trying to do?
"Why, to find the treasure, because they said that others were working against them, and they meant to find it first. They tried things that make my blood run cold. Awful things, but they could get no clue. Then Mrs. Pouncer said,
Well, we'll find out who it is that's thwarting us.
so they tried that. They asked it 3 times, and each time they got the answer. Kay and his friends. Then Abner said,
Oh, indeed. Really right.
we'll give Kay and his friends such a change as they little expect. They'll be here in a minute, any minute. Come along, Kay, quick.
Where to?
Kay said. Out of here. First, quick. There are their steps in the corridor. Sure enough, there were their steps. Kay and Nibbins had barely time to slip through the little door in the wainscot and bolt it behind them before the 7 were in the bedroom. Kay and Nibbins ran down the corridor into the garden. As they came out into the night, they ran into someone. They thought for an instant that it was Abner, but it was Bitem eating a rabbit. He knew at once that the hunt was up.
Right,
he cried.
Jump on my back, Kay. Hold me round the neck. I can manage.
So again, this is an interesting little thing that other readers have mentioned who've read this book. The size of the animals and the size of Kay seems to shift without any real explanation, and you don't really notice it until you read between the lines that either Kay is shrinking or that somehow the animals are growing to a large size. It's not really ever fully explained. In a minute, they were over the wall, the church clock then striking 1. Down into the town, Bitem, Nibbins said. They'll never think we went there. They saw the lanterns of the 7 in the garden, all moving away from them. I was only just in time, Nibbins whispered. We'd only a minute to spare. In a few minutes they paused for breath in the street of the little town, which stretched to right and left in the silence of the moonlight. All the townspeople were abed, even Pimply Watto. All the houses were shuttered. No lights shone in the windows. Not even a cat moved along the broad green shaded with trees. Where the stocks still stood beside the whipping post.
We're not pursued.
We're not pursued. No, that was Nibbins, not Bitem. Oops. We're not pursued, Nibbins said. It's all right.
I don't know that it's all right,
Bitem said.
This isn't exactly the kind of place that's all right for me. They've got scores against me, that you little wot of, Nibbins. All of them. I'd a guinea fowl out of that one. I'd 3 hens and a cock out of that one. At least you can't count the cock. He was the toughest I ever. Then that one with the gate. He was turkeys. Very innocent young things. Very mealy. Then that one was ducks. Just the 3, if I remember. Then that other one was a goose. And that one was a clutch of chickens. Then there was tame rabbits there. Very juicy they were. Only furry to the gullet, if you understand. There was only a guinea pig there. Nothing on him, but worth it just to try. Then in that one, she thought that she'd shut me out, but she'd really shut me in. 19 they counted the next morning, but she didn't see me, because I got out while she swounded.
What we ought to do, Nibbins said, is to cross running water. That upsets magic. Oh, that's interesting. Interesting. Well, I know crossing running water is invoked in several magical traditions in folklore. I mean, according to one piece of folklore, vampires can't cross running water. The fairy creature Nucklavi can't cross fresh running water. So the idea of running water being disruptive to dark magics is not a new one.
Well, we have crossed running water,
Bitem said.
There's an underground brook runs under here. Many's the time I've gone along it.
Kintron, running water is pure water, supposedly. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, that would make sense then. Thank you for that fact, Kintron.
Are you sure of this, Bitem?
Niven said.
Well, of course I'm sure.
Niven stopped still and began to shake.
It's all very well, he said, to be free from them for the moment, but we've got to go back. It's tomorrow morning that I'm thinking of.
Never you think about tomorrow morning, Bitem said. You just be thankful that you're not caught today. If you've been hunted like what I've been hunted, the hounds coming on you in the middle of your sweet sleep, and you not expecting them nor hearing them, no, but just dreaming of your last juicy bit of gosling, all yellow fat. If you'd gone through that, and heard the horn and the horses, and seen their sharp teeth, and run all day in front of 30 of them, if you'd done that, and got away at the end, you wouldn't think about any tomorrow. No, let tomorrow fend for itself, you'd say, but this is bliss.
What in the wide world is this? Kay asked, interrupting. Coming up the center of the road that led from the river was a procession of small carts, drawn by sturdy horses under escort. Kay looked at the carts and recognized them. There in front were the two which he had owned. They were very good ones, which tipped up and had tailboards that came out. Then there was little Bill Gassel's cart, and little Dick's cart from the rectory, and Charles and Brian's carts from the squires. Then there were all the brand new shining blue, yellow, and scarlet carts from the village toy shop, and a lot more carts, which he didn't recognize at all. But marching in front of this long procession of loaded carts was a figure whom he thought never to see again. It was Edward in his fullest uniform, in his coat with the piping down the edges, his gun slung in a bandolier, and his rapier at his side.
Edward!
Ha! Kay! Edward said in his usual extravagant manner. I've got the treasure. We've jolly well got the treasure for you, Kay. We've been a long time about it, but when I give my mind to a thing, I carry it through.
I need another drink of water. Oh my. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
You mean you got it from the Little South Cave?
Kay asked.
Yes, out of the Little South Cave. It's going under the hearthstone in your room before tonight's much older. And don't you have any fear, Kay. We're the guards, we are. We hear that the house has gone all to 6s and 7s since we left it. But that's going to be remedied now.
Nivens burst into tears of joy.
Edward and the guards come back, he cackled. Now there won't be any more witchcraft. And are you going to the house now?
Going straight there. Come on. Look out then, Nivens said, for they're all there, looking for us. There's nothing I like better, Edward said, than to have my enemy looking for me. Then I don't have to look for him. Come on, boys!
When they reached the garden, Nivens said,
Be careful now.
No, that was Nivens. Oops.
Be careful now. Hold the carts. They'll have sentries posted at the doors, you may be certain. Yes, look. There, those little green lights near the holly. That's Black Malkin. Those are his eyes. Grey Malkin will be on the other side of the house, guarding the other doors. Right, Edward said. Bitem, let you and Tom creep round through the grass till you see Grey Malkin. He'll probably be under the yew. Take a sack and scrabble him up in it. Don't let him squeal. We'll settle what to do with him later.
Oh, Scrabble. The word Scrabble gets used in Box of Delights. Basically, it's an old-fashioned term for being grabbed and stuffed into a sack. Or essentially kidnapped.
He shan't squeal, Bitem said. Nor yet won't he... Nor yet won't he...
Excuse me for a second there, I'm trying to get... Nor yet won't he... Oh.
Nor yet won't he not gurgle.
We'll give you a full minute's start, Edward said, to give you time to get round. Then Dog here, and Peter Dog, and you Nibs, shall creep in with another sack on Black Malcolm there, scrobble him up, and not let him squeal. We'll settle what to do with him later. Off you go, Bite and Tom. We'll get in as soon as the guards are sacked. Kay saw Bite'em and the rather melancholy-looking lad known as Tom steal away through the long grass. He's first rate for a night attack, Tom, Edward said. He's so unexpected. After what seemed a long time, the two dog cousins crept away with Nibbins. Presently Kay saw Black Malcolm's eyes glow up green. He had been pacing to and fro and now had turned to stare in their direction. Edward nudged Kay's arm. Now, you watch. Now watch, he said. Kay saw the green eyes become a little brighter as Black Malcolm took a few steps towards them. Then, suddenly, the two little lights went out. There was no squeal, nor any sound of a scruffle. Only a little sigh, as though somebody, very thirsty, had just had a cool, pleasant drink. Edward nudged Kay again. They've bagged him, he said. In a few minutes the two sets of scouts returned, bearing the two sentries, both neatly tied up in sacks. The water rat appeared at the secret door. You can go in, he said. I've just been a part of the way. They are in a great tear and taking, all setting off for the river or somewhere. Kay and Edward crept up the secret stair into Kay's room. There they heard the voice of Abner Brown calling, Haven't you got them, Mrs. Pouncer? And Pouncer's voice replied,
It's too provoking. I must have put the lantern and rope somewhere when I was tidying, and then my one-league shoes are gone.
Well, come on, Abner said. We must do without them. After all, we've got some lights and a rope and the carriages are here.
I must just look a moment longer, she said.
Really, you mustn't stay a minute longer, Abner answered. We've got to get to the river and into the cave. It will be daylight before we lift anything at this rate. This seemed to convince Mrs. Pouncer, because she went downstairs muttering,
It's too provoking.
And Kay heard her pass along the hall and out at the front door. Soon the noise of carriage wheels was heard on the gravel. That's it, Edward said. They've learned where the treasure was by their magic, but they've learned it a little too late. Now come along, boys, let's get busy. All the stuff in these carts has to go underneath the hearthstone before daylight. There then followed a great bustle among the guards. One by one the carts were brought up and unloaded. The treasure was then carried up by hand and laid under the stone. All worked with a will. After 2 hours of hard work, it was all stored safely away. Kay stood with a light in the secret room looking at it as it was carried down. First, they brought in the gold and silver people, which had so pleased the mermaids. 3 of these were knights with swords, and one a queen knight, leaning forward with her hair blown back from her helmet. Then 4 were bringers of blessings, like King Cole of England, who I think is kind of a legendary character, King Alfred of Wessex, who was a real historical character, very well known. The only King of England with the epithet Great, King Edward the Great. St. Nicholas of Bari, I'm guessing maybe, I don't know, is that the same? I don't know if it's the same St. Nicholas of Myra or not. Might be. And St. Augustine, who is very obviously a very famous saint. 4 others were lovely, calm women. Forgiveness, mercy, peace, and piety. According to the list, Edward said, there should be one more of these people, but he is not there.
He is under the sea,
Kay said. We get a drink of water. Excuse me. After the images came the great gold and silver candlesticks that the goggled eyes of so many fishes had gawped at. Then came the censers and the church vessels. Then, when these had all been stored away, there came the marvelous caskets, each made like a church of gold or silver, with spires and pinnacles specked with jewels. The roofs of these churches opened like doors. Inside were colored glitterings from jewels. For each church was a box of precious stones, pearls, blue sapphires, yellow sapphires, opals like jewels with fire inside them, rubies like the heart of fire, emeralds like the depth of the green sea, diamonds like raindrops in the sun. Here and there on the treasures were relics of their travels, such as bits of the grass mattings from Santa Barbara, chalk marks and numbers put on them by Captain Harker or his mate Hollings when they were brought on board the Plunderer. Sprigs of coral, dried seaweed, and a few spiky pearly shells from their under the sea time, and much of the dried red mud of Old Man John's farm. Pardon me one moment, scholars. I have to check something quickly. Sorry about that. I keep thinking Ovid's done, and he still isn't done with the work. He's really taking this project seriously. And much of the dried red mud of Old Man John's farm. On the last of the caskets was an old envelope with the following inscription in ink. Oh, thank you for the raid, Lorelei. Welcome! Welcome, all you wonderful raiders. I'm Matsu Quinox, interdimensional omniversal librarian. This is Horace, and we are currently finishing up, The Midnight Folk. Let's give a shout out to Lorelei. There we are. Ah, thank you for the raid. What were you up to, Lorelei? Were you playing a game tonight? We finished Fran Bowl. Oh, I don't think I've heard of that. Was it fun? I hope it was fun. I mean, it should be fun. Lorelei, it was lovely and I adore the game so much. Aw, that's wonderful. Glad to hear it. Welcome, all you wonderful raiders, to the study. Hello there, Zen. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh my goodness, it's always lovely to have all you wonderful people here. Visitors are welcome here in the study. For the most part, I mean, sometimes we get visitors who are a little bit of a pain, and we have to clean up after them, and it gets really, really bit of a mess, and then we have to run, and it gets, yeah. Anyway, that's what you get for dimensional flops. Anyway, but we are just finishing up. We are on our way to finishing up the Midnight Folk. Lorelei, I will flop down and lurk. My throat is hurting from voice acting. Been there plenty of times. Have some tea with honey if you can. Tea with honey is a wonderful cure for a sore throat. Oh, thank you for the posture check. Julian20. Oh my goodness. Oh, this is what I need. I'm starting to slide down my chair. Now, where was I? Ah, yes. Densuo raw honey in particular. Yes. Yes, if you can get it. You have to be careful if you can find it. And hello there, Densuo. Welcome. As I said before, we're just finishing The Midnight Folk. It's been feels like 3 months for this book. On the last of the on the last of the caskets was an old envelope with the following inscription in ink: brought up the river and safely landed by me at midnight, January 25th, 1850. P. Trigger.
I don't know who helped him. I don't know who helped him, Edwards said. Probably his Indians, whom he paid and sent home afterwards. He was a rough customer, said Piney, but he did do his best to make amends for it.
It seemed to Kay and Edward that they heard a North Country voice say, and I don't know if I can do a North Country voice with this.
That's right, my son. That's right, my son.
Then a moment later they heard the same voice, and a familiar female voice, now sweeter and fuller than it had been, singing in the garden. And I need more drink because I have to hydrate every time I do a song. Yeah, let me see if I can get a tune for this one. Okay, it's weird that he writes all these songs. After long years alone, iron to flesh and bone, it is most sweet to pass like wind above the grass, free ever and to find the waiting mind, then to set forth together to know the new strange weather, and where the new road leads, to put old burdens by, and have the wind and sky light as the wild duck's feather, or dandelions sing. You see, I can't. I think John Masefield towards the end of that song kind of put a few too many words in it, so it kind of peters out there. I can't get a good tune to attach to that last bit. You and 20 dancing this song. I hope you didn't dance to that last bit. It just kind of it kind of fell apart. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my dear scholars. I couldn't really make a tune for that. You really can't go and have the wild wind and sky light as the wild duck's feather or dandelions. Oh, to know the new strange weather and light as the wild duck's feather. Flesh and bone. That doesn't even really work as a rhyme. I mean, you got that, and then you have three. You have this where to know the new strange weather, to where the new road leads, to put old burdens by, and have the wind and sky light as the wild duck's feather or dandelions. Now it rhymes, but it's got such a weird rhyming pattern. I mean, it kind of goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It really is odd. Anyway, I could tell. Do you want me to attempt that song again? Because it kind of bothers me that second half. That second half bothers me. It just feels like it shouldn't work, and it does, and I hate when the songs work like that. Yes, you want me to sing it again? Okay, Kintron, let me redo the song. Let me mute so I can get this a tune. I'll try. Every time I tried to do it, it just feels odd. After long years alone, iron to flesh and bone, it is most sweet to pass like wind above the grass, free ever and to find the waiting mind. Then to set forth together to know the new strange weather, and where the new road leads, to put old burdens by, and have the wind and sky light as the wild duck's feather or dandelion seeds. Uh, it still doesn't sound good. I swear, my dear scholars, I can sing better than this, but it's like this second bunch of lyrics, it just, I don't know what John Masefield was trying to do. It feels like he was just smashing together whatever words could rhyme and not really paying attention to if they were singable. Kintron, I need people to listen to my fairy tale streams and clip every song I've had to do. Yes, we need a compilation of Kintron sings the fairy tale hits. Yes, I would pay to hear that. Now available for your consumption, Kintron Valgrieg plays all the fairy tale hits provided to you by the Grimm brothers. But yeah, I mean, looking at these lyrics, it's just like, then to set forth together to know the new strange weather and where the new road leads to put old burdens by and have the wind and sky. It doesn't work as a song. It just kind of, oh, of course you do. Of course you redeemed radio voice Julian 20. Of course you did. Now I have to get this. I have to hydrate before this. Welcome, all you wonderful dear scholars, to Radio Matsu here at the study. We're here to relax, enjoy. Here we're reading Tonight we're reading a book by John Masefield, The Midnight Folk, for your entertainment. And do remember to purchase your latest copy of Kintron Valgrieg Sings You the Classics, provided by the Brothers Grimm. You can find it at all major fairy tale shops, or maybe not. But until then, relax, sit back, and enjoy these tales that you can only hear here at Radio Matsu. Take care. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I am not seeing that song again. Julian 20, love it. I hope you do. I hope you do. When the song had died away in the distance, Kay asked if he might speak to the guards. They all came in their dusty, rough, muddy working clothes. They were very much sunburnt and wind-tanned. It was lovely to see them all looking so well and to have them there again. He says they look well. I mean, they sound pretty miserable, actually. Kay spoke to each one and thanked them all. "You must have had a dreadfully hard time," he said. "We had a lot of disappointments," Edward said. "We followed so many false clues, and I must say that yesterday, after all night in the mud with those two men whom Arthur lent, I must say that we came near to despair. It was little Maria who kept us at it. She made us all lovely beef tea, and whipped up eggs and milk, and cream for poor Brown Bear. And it was she and Susan who thought that there might be that cave to the south. I can tell you, when Otter gave us a hint, and it proved to be the fact, when we peered in and saw the treasure, it atoned for any troubles we may have had. I must say, that was a moment. But, however, we have found it. It is safely stored, and this zone is sealed. What I have to say now is, up guards and at them! It's time to set this house to rights." Sorry. "You, Lenda, take Jemima, Susan, and Maria into this Pouncer's room. Seal her cupboard, then lock everything up so that she won't get in again. You, Peterkin, Snowball, and James, and you, W. Brown, break open that magic room. Fling everything that you find there out of the window and burn it in the bonfire. And the watchword till further orders is, keep awake." While they were hurrying to obey, there was a scuttling in the passage. Otter came tumbling into the room. "I say," he said, "there are such doings down by the river. The 8 of them came, with that man Roper Bilges and his brother, and the pimply man, and Brassy who set the traps. They have all been digging in the mud for hours. They're all filthy and blistered and as cross as 2 sticks. Then they've gone into the south cave and found the treasure gone. Then they've gone into the middle cave and found a body. Now they're all fighting, quarrelling, blaming each other. Serves them right. Edward said. But tell me, Otter, as you came here, did you see any Coast Guard men? I should think I did, Otter said. Dozens of them. Some on the roads, other in boats, all creeping in on them. Right, Edward said. My plans are working just as I could wish. John, just run down to the study, will you, and bring up yesterday's paper. Edward opened the paper and read. His Excellency the Dictator of Santa Barbara, accompanied by the Archbishop of Santa Barbara, and a numerous and distinguished suite, will arrive in London early tomorrow on a short visit to the metropolis. They will be stopping at the Hotel Glorious. There! Edward cried. On the very day the treasure is found, the people arrive to take charge of it. I noticed that announcement yesterday, tired as I was. That shows you the kind of brain I have.
I showed it to him, Maria whispered. I'll send them a letter, Kay said. Come along to the drawing room where the embossed notepaper is kept.
In the drawing room, Kay wrote his letter.
Dear Lord, Excellency, and Archbishop, I hope you are quite well. All the church treasure which was trusted to Captain Harker, my great-grandfather, is now safely here. Please come with safe men to take it. I am quite well. K. Harker. I'm afraid he'll never come for that, Kay said. He'll think it's a rag.
Well, let's send it by someone who will make him come, Edward said. Not Ernst, he's such an ass. Bruno Brie is the man. Bruno, Mart Petterhorse, gallop to London to the Hotel Glorious and give this letter to the dictator's hand. Tell him it's deadly serious and he must come at once.
I must put in a P.S., Kay said. The statue of St. George is under the sea.
After Bruno had galloped off with the letter, Edward said, I must say that your guardian has been an ass, Kay. However, someone else will be here this morning. Then perhaps something can be arranged. Now I'll just post some guards and you better get to bed for an hour or two. One more drink of water, my dear scholars. It was very late when Ellen called Kay that morning.
Oh, there have been doings, she said. Your governess and a whole lot more of them have been taken trespassing down in a cave where they were smuggling. And what's worse, that there's a dead body where they've murdered someone. And oh, the brandy they've found! Joe says it's enough to make the army blind and the navy mellow. And Sir Hassel has had to telegraph to your guardian.
There were no lessons that morning, but a great deal of coming and going. But long before lunch, at about 11 o'clock, there came a much greater surprise. While Kay was in the schoolroom, wrestling with a portion of Mrs. Markham, Ellen came to say that he was wanted in the drawing room. This was usually a message for boding punishment. Today Ellen brought it all smiling.
Who is this, Ellen? He asked. You are a tease not to tell a fellow. You go down and you'll see, she said.
He went down in a drag-leg sort of way and opened the door. There, to his amazement, was the beautiful lady who had taken him to the Weathercocks, and to Miss Twinny Pricker. She came up to him and kissed him. You don't know who I am, she said, but I know who you are. I am Caroline Louisa, who loved your mother. Well, this is an interesting twist, I must say. I could not come before, but now I am going to live here and look after you. Will you like that?
Will I like that? I should rather think so. But what will she say?
She won't be here.
Oh.
Union 20, oh my. Yes, oh my. Caroline Louisa, who loved Kay's mother. Oh my, indeed. At 2:30 that afternoon, they were playing cricket in the garden, when His Excellency the Dictator, with the Archbishops of Santa Barbara and two very important looking men, drove up to the door in the fly from the Cock and Pie. They were all as nice as they could be. Kay had the great pleasure of taking them to his room, rolling back the carpet, and showing them the stone. The two men procured crowbars from the ironmonger's shop in the village. They hove the stone aside. There was the treasure, neatly arranged as the guards had left it. Kay told them all the story of it. They guarded it that night, and then carried it away. As for Abner Brown, Mrs. Pouncer, and the others, they were all examined by the magistrates for being found unlawfully assembled, with arms in their possession, with intent to defraud the Queen's Majesty by removing certain articles of contraband, to wit, brandy, lace, and tobacco, from where they were to some other place, the said articles not having paid any duty. The magistrates were much puzzled by the case, because the people were not smugglers, and had not smuggled the goods. Yet were plainly there with ropes, hooks, and carriages to remove the same. The 7 were at last dismissed with a good scolding for taking part in a foolish frolic, but they were fined a large sum for trespassing in pursuit of game. Abner Brown paid all the fines. Mrs. Pouncer left the district that afternoon. Excuse me. Roper Blighes was discharged from his place for poaching. In his revenge, he and his brother Sir Hassel's footmen poisoned all the otter hounds. Oh, that is awful. These people are horrible. No good. For this, they were sent to Dr. Gubin's redeemable, I can't speak this word, remedial home for scoundrels, where parts of them have been cut out, cleaned, and then put back. They are already much improved. Dr. Gubins has great hopes of them. So basically, they were given a lobotomy. What a nasty, nasty fate for them. Pimply Watto and Brassy are now keeping a little pig farm. Sir Hassel wears his grandfather's repeater, which goes as well as ever it did. He takes Kay for a ride 3 times a week out of the hunting season. He's going to give Kay a lovely little pony mare, called Christine, for his birthday. But of course, this is a secret. Sir Hassel never draws for a fox down by the river. The squire will not buy any more otter hounds. Otter hunting has therefore come to an end there. Water rat and otter have the river to themselves. They are very happy there, as the salmon have begun to come back. Miss Twining Pricker mourned for her paw, but was glad to have his bones to bury. She is very well, but her medical attendant is sadly distressed at her smoking and drinking and most unladylike language. Joe has taken the pledge and is keeping it. The pledge being that he won't drink. Bynum is very well. He has a fine summer lair in the hollow of Spring Hill. So far he has had 1 of my hens and 3 of my ducks this season. In the winter he goes down to the cave near the river where no hounds ever come. I hear him singing from time to time. Black Malkin and Grey Malkin have turned over new leaves, but of course they will never be so nice as Nibbins, who is the nicest cat there is. Old Blinky is still there. So is Bat. Ellen and Jane say they are never going to marry, but stop where they are to look after Kay until he marries. Kay and Caroline Louise are as happy as the day is long. Last year they went to spend the winter as the guests of the Dictator of Santa Barbara, where they had a most happy time. While they were there, the Archbishop showed them the treasure, or some of it, in use, as it had been of old, the candlesticks on the altar, the images against the screens in the choir, and the vessels in the side chapels. Many of the precious stones from the caskets had been sold to build and endow a great college for the study and cure of disease. While at sea, both going and returning, Kay was quite sure that he saw the mermaids. The guards are very happy too. You may be sure that there is no more witchcraft in the house. Nothing but peace and mirth all day, and at night peace. The owls crying, the crickets chirping, and all sort of fun going on among the midnight folk. The end. Hmm, interesting. Union 20. Ah, wonderful, thank you. It's a wonderful little ending. It's a very odd book. It does meander a little bit. Union 20, almost 3 months. Yeah, it took me almost 3 months to read the entire thing due to a certain book Kraken bite which left me invalid for a time. Um, it is interesting where the sequel takes it. Uh, the Box of Delights takes it in a very different direction. You have an older K, and he's a little more adept at what's going on than the K in this story. Um, there's an interesting note in the back of this book that the copy that I'm reading is actually the first to be based off a corrected manuscript by John Masefield. Apparently, John Masefield had trouble with his hands, so when he was handwriting it, there was a tendency for him to make mistakes in the grammar, and make some odd little mistakes in spelling and things like that. And the original release of it contained these mistakes. And there were other manuscripts which showed numerous different versions of the story. So this version that I read combines all the versions together into one single manuscript. Um, Overall, I enjoyed it. It was good. It had some weak parts in it, but I think it was a good story. What do you think, my dear scholars? And Kay Harker is really a wonderful protagonist. It is a shame that there's only 2 books in the Kay Harker adventures. Unit 20, yes, it had its moments. So yes, the a lot of the bits with the animals really felt like they were unfortunately dragging out a little bit. Um, I want to say that there were you could tell a lot of John Masefield's love of the sea and sailing in it, but sometimes it just felt like there were moments that didn't really add to the plot, but were just there for pure whimsy's sake. Unit 20, it got better later. It did. And it is kind of funny that Kay himself in the end does not find the treasure after all his hunting. He has no part in finding the actual treasure. It's the guards of the house who find the treasure in the end, which is it is fitting that they do because they were hunting for it in the first place. So Kay's more along for the ride than he is actually really helping. He doesn't really help out with the treasure hunting. His real impact on the story is how he's impacting other people in smaller ways. Whereas the plot with the guards is they're the ones who are actually finding the treasure in the background. They're having their own adventure, which Kay really has no impact on. It's a very different, very interesting little little decision to make. And you can see that in Box of Lights, which I'm not going to spoil for any of you dear scholars, in case you want to read it. But in that one, John Masefield also subverts expectations with the ending of that book. He has this tendency in both books to essentially take what you would think of as the normal adventure plot, and then at the last moment swerve it in a way that changes what you expected the ending would be. Um, but yes, I think we had a lovely time. You and Tony love that story. Oh, Box of Delights is wonderful. It's really, really, really good. It's better than the it honestly is better than the Midnight Folk. It's a lot tighter story, and it actually has chapter breaks in it. John Masefield actually learned to put chapter breaks in his story for once. So it's getting late. Julian 20 Christmas, right? Yes, it's a Christmas book. Yep. We'll talk about next week. So next week, if everything goes according to plan, I think I will continue Metal Gear Solid. I will give you updates on that game. I may have got myself stuck in a position which I might be in trouble with, but we'll see. I have to check a few things, so keep that in mind. That's tentative. But next Thursday, we are not doing a reading stream. Instead, it's been a long time. We are going to watch a movie together. We're going to watch the mystery thriller Charade, starring Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn. It is a public domain film. It's actually quite a good movie. I rather enjoy it. So I'll be streaming that for all you wonderful scholars. Julian 20 Yays love that movie. Oh, you've seen it. Huh, interesting. But I will be streaming that on Thursday. And then we'll be doing another book or short story the week after that. So, my dear scholars, before we go, let's see who we can raid. Okay, let's see. Let's raid Legacy Bookish. It looks like they're reading a book, some sort of Plague Doctor romance. I don't know what that is, but let's raid them tonight. So, my dear scholars, I say unto you, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Till we meet each other again at the study. Take care, and I shall see you next time. Till then, farewell and bye bye.